The topic of our presentation is inheritance, friendly class, or friendly function. Presenters are Timirjanova Solidat and Armuhan Deriga. Content of presentation: term description, types of inheritance, benefits of inheritance, friendly function, friendly class.
What's inheritance? Inheritance is one of the fundamental principles of object-oriented programming. According to it, a class can use variables and methods of another class as its own. You can create classes and objects that are similar to each other but slightly different, have additional attributes and methods. A class that inherits data is called a subclass, derived class, or child class. Types of inheritance. There are 5 types of inheritance, and the first one is single inheritance. In single inheritance, a class is allowed to inherit from only one class, which means one subclass is inherited by one base class only. The second one is hierarchical inheritance. In this type of inheritance, more than one subclass is inherited from a single base class, which means more than one derived class is created from a single base class. Next one is multi-level inheritance. In this type of inheritance, a derived class is created from another derived class. The fourth one is hybrid inheritance, called differently virtual inheritance. Hybrid inheritance is implemented by combining more than one type of inheritance. For example, combining hierarchical inheritance and multiple inheritance. The last one is multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance is a feature of C++, whereas a class can inherit from more than one class, which means one subclass is inherited from more than one base class. What are the benefits of inheritance? Inheritance allows you to implement complex schemes with a clear hierarchy from the general to particular. This makes it easier to understand and scale the code. There is no need to rewrite the same properties many times in different objects. It's enough to inherit these objects from one parent, and the parent properties will be applied automatically.
Friendly function. What is it? A friendly function is a function that has access to the private members of a class as if it were itself a member of that class. It can be either a normal function or a method of another class. How? To declare a friendly function, use a friend keyword before the prototype of the function you want to make friendly to the class. It doesn't matter if you declare it in the public or private area of the class. Friendly class. Suppose there is a need to add many friendly functions to class A which will be defined in class B, or we can assume that class B will actively use objects of A. And in this case, it is reasonable not to define separate friendly functions but define the whole class B as friendly.
For a simple realization, let's write out the classes human, student, and professor. All of our classes will have public fields in order to make code availability minimal and for easy understanding. What immediately strikes the eye is that 3 classes have a field name. It's clear that student and the professor are humans and they have a name. And the human class can also store different data like age, height, date of birth, and etc., which will also be relevant for the other 2 classes. Next, we can inherit the student class and the professor class from the human class. We remove the string name in the last 2 classes, and to implement inheritance, put a colon and write a modifier for inheriting human next to the classes. Then we create an object of the student class, and we can notice that it's easy to call a field name, although it's not in the student class. Now let's create a learn method in student class, and it outputs iStudy. As you may have noticed, it works. Then I create a class extramural students that inherits the group and name fields, and also the learn method from the student class. Let's output the learn method of the extramural student. In the result, it prints iStudy, not as much as student.
So it is code example. I created a class called salary. In this class, our attributes are amount and currency. Let's say that our salaries are given in foreign currency, dollar, euro, or ruble. But we want to take our salary in tenge. So we need to go to an exchange of ice. So let's write a function that will help us calculate what our salary in tenge. We should use objects of our class salary. Assume that currency will be dollar, so we will object amount multiply to 470 and we will get tenge. Unfortunately, in this case, our function has no access to the amount because amount and currency is our personal information, but we can have access to this data by using keyword friend and write our function void exchange, and it will be friendly to our class salary. As you can see, compiler has accepted that the function is friendly and give us access to the data. Now let's check our code. Let's write our first object of salary. It will be October for this month, and we should write amount. It will be 1000 and our currency will be dollar. Next, we will check our function exchange braces October. There is some mistake. Oh, exchange with a capital letter, and here is our program output. I have 470,000 tenge, and it's right. The code worked without errors. Now you know how is declared friend function and how it works.